What are your thoughts on reformulation? Sure, let's talk about it. So firstly, reformulations are inevitable in the world of perfumery because standards change from year to year. So every material that is in the perfumer's palette gets reevaluated every year based on, health standards, allergens, etc., etc., etc. So in a way, that's a good thing to know that there's a team of highly competent specialists that are watching out for us. Unfortunately, the problem is that a lot of the formulations that we know and love are subject to change over time. But in a way, I'm at peace with that idea because of the fleeting nature of perfume itself. It evolves over time and eventually disappears. There's an ephemeral side to it. And I feel that this idea of reformulation speaks well to it. So, perfume for me has always been something about living in the moment and appreciating the moment. It's one of the best ways I have found to bring myself back into the now. And I feel like in a way, people have taken for granted the art of perfumery, thinking somehow that it was something permanent and ongoing. And I understand, like it's a very emotional experience that we have with fragrances. But again, it's something that is really subject to a certain time. And I've often compared fragrances to going to, let's say, a classical concert or going to, a show, a Broadway show, for example. You can have different casts telling the same story, but it's going to be different from, one decade to another. And I kind of see it the same way. So if you want to enjoy it, a version in the 90s, well, you might as well enjoy it in the 90s and really appreciate it at that time. You get your ticket at that time and then you enjoy it and then we all move on. And the new version might be a little bit different, but it doesn't make it any less valid. We often say that the new reformulations are worse than the previous, but that is extremely subjective. One, keep in mind that there are very talented perfumers who work on reformulations, trying to keep the spirit of the original one, based on, new parameters. And two, if you're smelling a new fragrance with certain specific expectations, you might be disappointed when the new version doesn't necessarily offer those qualities. It might offer something else in exchange, but of course you might be disappointed. And it's happened to me before where I would be testing a new formulation of a fragrance without any references to the previous version, then cross-comparing with someone who had, and then, of course, they were disappointed. But yet my experience was a very positive one with regards to the fragrance because I came in without necessarily that experience. So my recommendation to you is maybe experience fragrances without too many expectations and just an openness, and you might not be as disappointed in your experience.